Hello boys and girls, welcome to this week's episode of Iron Horse Weekly. Got a few things to look at this week, including Hornby's 2023 announcements, what I thought of them, and my top picks. We're also going to do a weathering challenge, can I weather a wagon within 2 minutes? And we're also looking at how to do weathering a bit more in depth. Let's get it going. Okay, first thing on the list that really took me by surprise was the 00 version of the DELTIC Prototype, or DP1. Obviously, Akira Scale got the new DELTIC on the block, if you will. Batman's version of this model in particular is getting a bit long in the tooth now, so it'd been nice to see a newer, more up-to-date version of this particular locomotive on the market. It's a favourite of mine, and it'd be really nice to see it in that 00 finish with the metal chassis, 21-pin DCC decoder ready, and yeah, okay, there's no getting around it. The price is 320 quid. I've got a sneaking suspicion that you're only really going to be able to get these direct from Hornby, so if we can see them cheaper elsewhere, then that'd be great. Next up is a surprising one for me. It's a limited edition Class 36. Now, I've only got a few steam locos in my stable, if you will, and I'm always looking to buy the odd one or two which will augment that collection a little bit. And this is one of them. I think it's a chipper looking bit of kit. The green looks really nice from the demo photos we've been given so far, so hopefully this will make an appearance soon. It looks like it's going to have an updated motor in there as well, and it says it's a limited edition. I can't find any figures at this time, but I believe it's going to be around 1,000. Next up, we've got a GWR 14XX. Now, this is the railroad version, so it's not going to have quite all the finer details you might find on other options available on the market at the minute. But what it does do is it offers a great starting platform for adding your own detail. For example, 1401 appears in Tipfield Thunderbolt, which I've watched a hell of a lot recently, and I wouldn't mind blacking it down, roughing it up, and trying to make somewhat of a little replica of the one from that film, the one that gets wrecked and chucked into a river halfway through. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting one of these. Really affordable price point. Good to see it. Good to see Hornby actually making models the average chap can afford. Well done. Now then, this next thing, the HM7000 control system, really got me excited in terms of what it means for the hobby in general, what it means for me as a modeler, and what it means for the future of the hobby as well, especially where DCC sound and DCC control come into play. And actually what it means is DCC sound and control are a lot more accessible and maybe more importantly a lot more affordable to the average modeler. Whereas previously, to go DCC sound, you'd be looking at upwards of 250, 300 quid just for a control unit. Then you'd need to factor in the cost of a sound decoder. Now it seems, according to Hornby, all you need as a basic is one of their new decoders and an app for your smartphone. From what we can gather so far, you simply download the app, you plug the decoder into your locomotive like you would with any other DCC ready locomotive, be that a sound one or a regular version. You pair the two to your phone and locomotive, and then away you go. You end up with DCC control sound. You can even upgrade from your existing handset. Say, for example, you've got the HM600 or 6000, or you've got the Select, or you've got an old DC system. Doesn't matter. The power that this new system means and brings to the table means if you have a large roster of old DC locomotives and you want to give DCC a try at home without having to invest the time, effort and money into upgrading your full system, spend 65-70 quid you can give it a try for yourself. The decoders that Hornby have developed for this, even themselves, will work with traditional DCC systems too, so if you've got a mixture of both, you can use both at the same time. The only catch that I can seem to figure out at the moment is the Bluetooth decoder will need to be controlled with a smartphone. The rest of your locos will run as they would normally with your existing DCC control system, but they can indeed run on the same track independently and they will not interfere with each other. So I'm not down on record as being Hornby's biggest fan, but this is really impressive stuff and I'm looking forward to seeing how we get on with it. And seeing just what Hornby can bring to the table with this new format they've invented. Paradigm changing, I absolutely think it is. What do you think anyway? For now folks, that's everything. More information is available on Hornby's website. And with that, let's continue with the rest of this week's video. Right folks, so last week I opened my big mouth and said that the new wagon I got for Christmas, this little Bachmann 13-ton plant wagon here, I really took a fancy to it. It's a simple wagon, but I think it's got quite a bit of detail for what you paid for it. And I reckon I could weather it within 2 minutes. Now obviously there are going to be a few limitations. Personally, I think when you weather something, it's an opportunity to just take your time, relax, look at the model, watch it develop and, for lack of a better term, evolve before you, and to resemble something like what you'd find on the real network. So it's not going to look as detailed as a quote unquote proper weathering job, but I certainly think we could put down what I'm going to call a solid base coat, so we can go back to it at a later date and improve or change or add things to it. This is going to be handy if you've got, say, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 of these and you want to get a rake of them together fairly quickly with a representation of some sort of weathering on there without spending 4 hours on each wagon, which is something you could quite easily do if you felt it necessary. So I'm going to try and do it in 2 minutes. So a few things first. What I'm going to do to make the process a little bit easier is I'm going to prepare the materials that I need for the process. This means getting my brushes ready and, for lack of a better word, make a production line, if you will. So I've already planned out roughly what I'm going to do with this wagon. I'm going to layer out my powders. I'm going to use some of this stuff, high coat. It's a really good matte lacquer. It dries pretty quickly. It's really important though, because we want this on the model and we need to apply the powders when the lacquer has gone off a little bit. Not fully dry, but not wet. If it's wet and we apply the powders, it'll turn the powders into a paint, which is a really nice effect, but it's not something we want immediately in this situation. We want it to be nice and tacky, so the powders grip and stick to the shiny surface there. So that's one thing I'm going to be doing as well. So I'm going to organise everything, and then we're going to set the stopwatch so you can see what we're on in terms of the time. We'll go from there. So I'm just going through my selection of powders to try and find the right pigment colour to use. The right range. I've got a little bit of IPA here, a couple of cotton buds, which will help process. A little bit of dark umber paint, just acrylic for later on. Give that a shake actually. Right, here we are then. I've got the stopwatch ready. Got my high coat ready. I've got my bits and pieces laid out in front of me. Got the paint ready. Need a little bit of this at the end there. A little bit on a little bit of paper. Using a notepad because the paper helps you really grind the powders and what have you. Right then. Okay. Let's see how long we can do this in. So first things first, quick blast all over the model of this. Then take some of the grey powder there, get it onto the frame to the bottom. That's it. Okay, down there like this. Bit of the lower body. That's it. Bit of rust powder on the bottom there. Got a bit more on there as well. On there. A bit of rust on the ends there. Just a little bit there. And a little bit of rust on the wheels. On the other side. On there as well. The wheels are taking a lot of time. There we are. And then I'm just going to get a little bit powder on the inside there as well. Just a little bit of muck on the inside there. And done. Okay. 1 minute 52. Let's have a look at it. So comparing it to the old one, you've now got a really good little base layer. There's a bit of grime on there, a little bit on the inside. Once that paint fully dries, it's going to look a lot nicer. So that's roughly what you can do with a little bit of speed weathering. 2 minutes worth of it. Obviously if you spent a lot more time, you could make that look a lot better. But that is not too bad for essentially just under 2 minutes. Okay then, so that's what it looks like if you do a quick weathering job. We'll have a quick look at what the wagon looks like a few days later, after the paints have time to set, and we'll put that picture in now. There we go. The wheels look much better once the paint's had time to dry, and that's just normal artist acrylic. It's just this stuff here. It's nothing extravagant, crafters, whatever it is, but that's what I used. Nice little brown colour. So anyway, so this is one of my remaining Accurascale PCA wagons. Now I've weathered 5 of the 6 and this is the last one, and I'm going to show you what you can do if you just take your time, use the powders you've got, maybe a bit of acrylic paint as well. Most importantly, take your time. So this side is the side we're going to weather. This side is what we did last night. You see you've got the cement spillages there, so all the cement dust collected around the emptying valves on the bottom there, and a little bit of frame dirt. Again, not too much, because even though these were in heavy traffic every day, they weren't ever untidy, if that makes sense. So I'm going to flip this round and we're going to do the same to the edges and to this side as well. Let's get cracking. I've got the paper. The paper makes a good little base, as before, for grinding your powders in. We're going to need some of this smoke stuff. We're going to need, no, we won't use that one because that's too much. Maybe it might be a bit too dark, perhaps. So this is the good one. DCC Concepts Brown Rust is absolutely an amazing little pigment. You don't need much of it either. And that's it. 2 powders really will be enough for this. Might use a third one later on. Oh, I'll tell you what we'll need as well. We will need the we will need 3 powders. We'll need the white. Where's it gone? Ah, I seem to have lost it. There we are, right in front of me. Okay, so 3 or 4 powders. As before, I have already sprayed this with a coat of this last night just to mark down and protect the decals underneath from being washed away. all I'm going to do is just a light spray, and all I'm doing, I'm not wetting the surface is just, I don't know if you can see it or not, it's just sort of moistened with it. I'm going to start by adding shade and shadow to the underside there, so a little bit of the Humbrol smoke. This is an amazing powder, and you see my brush is almost empty. I'm just going to slide it in there, work it back and forth, and you can just sort of see that shadow effect start to come into play. Start light, you can always add more later on should you feel the need. Try and keep your brush strokes vertical if you can, and then I'm just going to build that up as we go. A bit more around the ladder, you get a bit more action around there, so it starts to raise on that side, be a bit dirtier. That's it. Take our big nice soft makeup brush for blending, and this just softens the edges of the powder. There you go, that's it. A bit more on this side, I think. A bit more on that side there. Okay, you can see already starting to build up. Quick blast of the old that's it. That's all we need. And now that it's wet or damp, you notice the powders actually look a lot darker now. That's because more of the pigment is sticking. You need to be fairly quick. There's an optimum time gap, if you will, where the powders stick just right and don't stick at all, but it's always worth just taking your time with it. There we go. Okay, happy with that for now. Maybe just a little bit more down there on these on this banding here, just a bit more there. Yeah. Because I'm blending, I can go side to side. There we go, and that just softens it down. Okay, jolly good. Now I've done that, I have to seal it in again, just with a quick blast. That's it. So it takes. Now on the underside, when you get some of this brown rust on from DCC Concepts, and it's just a case of taking a little bit and then just on the bogies there, and more leaving a little bit on the edge of the brush into the gaps. And then again, just a little bit. 2 or 3 blasts there. Good distance, not too close to it. That's it, get it under there. The frames of these do get quite mucky, so we're going to have to be quite bold here. This little section. Now, if you've got an airbrush, you can use your airbrush for this bit. It's entirely up to you. I choose to not use the airbrush. I'm just going to now do a little bit over that frame down there, creeping up the sides of the wagon. Just a little bit, not much. I'm barely touching the powder onto the brush there. That's all we're doing. Just getting it in there, and then blending. You can see now you've got that dirty, grimy look that you often get on a bogey. So as before, just all we need. Just a little bit on there. I'm going to actually just make that bogey, that little frame there, just a bit muckier. I think it could have been a bit dirtier. A bit more across there. There we are. And because it's wet, the powders will stick better and what have you. There we go. Okay. Happy with that. Now then, we need to get some cement spillage on there as well. Right again, just what we need. And we can be a bit heavy with this one because we do need to almost make it cake, if you will. We need to cake it on because the tops of these, after they've been loaded, do look quite, what's the word I'm looking for? They're quite messy. That's it. Get a bit on that side as well. And just gently try and keep the line straight if you can. Work it down the sides of the wagon. And maybe there's a bit of cement coming off that one as well. It does get everywhere. We've got a little bit there as well. There we are. Okay, and of course, round that filler cap as well. So if you use too much of the lacquer, it will dull the effect. So it's all about layering. So we can put a bit more powder back on there as well. Just there we are, and then get some of that as well. It's quite bold. That's the discharge pipe there, so it would get everywhere, even on the bottom. I've seen these very messy, so don't be shy. Around there as well. More streaking. There we are. Really, I should be using a thinner brush for this, but I haven't got one. And again, you'll notice now when we do this, the white won't be as bold. I'm a good distance away. I'm probably about 10 inches away from the model surface, and I'm just literally, there you go, just blasting it on, and that is enough. That is enough, because don't forget we've got a layer of lacquer under there already. So there we are, and that's it. Nice and simple weathering, easy to do, no airbrush, no enamel paints, and I think you'll agree that looks pretty damn good. So I'm going to do the ends now using the same techniques. And then if I want, I can go through and maybe do some patches of rust and things and some scratches and what have you. Excellent. What do you think? Any good? Should I give them a day job or should I keep at it? What do you think? If you want to see more weathering tutorials that are a bit more in depth like this, let me know. Happy to include them. Okay folks, cheers. Yeah folks, that's it for this week's episode of Iron Horse Weekly. Did you enjoy it? What were your thoughts? What was your picks from Hornby's 2023 releases? Did you find it a little bit lackluster, which quite a few people did? Or are you of the opinion that there are just no pleasing some people, my dear sir? I do think those new decoders are going to be a bit of a game changer, to be honest with you, especially with how accessible they are. The price of the decoder and a free app on your phone. I think that's certainly worth considering, especially if you're not already in DCC. And even if you are, it's got to be worth it just for the play value, it really has. I mean, thinking about it, you could probably even, with a little bit of wiring, you could disconnect the power from your pickups with a loco and add them to an onboard rechargeable lithium-ion battery. So you wouldn't even need to stay alive. Your track could be as dirty as it ever wants to be because the power will be from a little battery inside the loco. little bit of gentle milling to the underside of the body for the on-off switch. Maybe you could even do it with a reed switch. Anyway, the point is it's adding options and avenues to be explored. So until next week, folks, thanks very much for watching. Please do drop a like and a subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think. Until then, cheers now. Bye-bye.